99% retention, 93% retention, 97% retention, one after another, again and again and again. Through my personal experience in making engaging shorts and my research into the strategies of top creators, I've created an in-depth process for consistently getting high retention. By following the methods in this process, you'll be able to keep attention so well that you can't stop going viral. So without further ado, let's begin. The Shorts algorithm uses thousands of methods to decide if your content is worthy of getting views. However, there is one single element that is undoubtedly the biggest factor in this. Every creator acknowledges it as the single most important metric in terms of going viral, and I'm sure you've heard of it as well. Just this simple line on a graph will decide if your short gets 10 views or 10 million views. So let's make it as flat as possible. Now, this upcoming advice can be used across all niches, but for each person it might apply differently. So in these next few minutes, consider how you can tailor this information to fit your videos. If you were to imagine your content as a car, then the composing of your shorts would be the engine. Without a good engine, it doesn't matter if you have a super nice car, a Lamborghini, because you won't be going anywhere. So to explain the concept of composing, we can start by drawing a simple line. On one end we have the hook, and on the other end we have the payoff. The line connecting the two is our storytelling. I'll go through each point in this drawing and show you how to maximize retention in all of them. Let's begin with the hook, and I'll get to the others later. Your hook is basically the intro of your short. It should be as concise and easy to understand as possible, since we don't want to end up confusing the viewers or giving them too much information. The hook should also explain the general idea of the video and mention a payoff. Now, it might seem difficult to fit all of this in less than 5 seconds, but it doesn't have to be complicated. Find for yourself how this creator communicated a simple but effective hook to his viewers. Yes, even without a voice, this simple use of text is still a very strong hook. His viewers want to see what he's referring to in the caption, which is a good reason for them to keep watching. We also immediately understand the concept of the video, because the visuals convey what game he's playing and the situation he's in, which shows that you don't always have to physically explain the idea. For further reference, here's another very good hook, but this time it's a completely different niche.
My grandma thinks Christmas is expensive, so I'm gonna prove her wrong by giving her the best Christmas present with $5. Let's get started.
So your hook can look differently depending on your niche and video type, but as long as you can set up a payoff and convey an interesting idea, you'll be able to make your viewers stick around. But only initially. We still have to keep these people engaged until the end of the short, or else they'll just scroll away before reaching that point. That's where storytelling comes in, and we can start progressing down the line. Now, this part is interesting because how you use storytelling will be very dependent on your niche and video type. If you make voiceover or original content, then there's a lot more room with what you can do. For that group, I recommend you integrate conflict into your script. Have things go wrong and then resolve the problem with a solution. Also use a lot of suspenseful words like but and however, because it keeps people on edge waiting for what you say next. Now, in a more general sense, there is something that's important to focus on in storytelling for every niche, faceless or not. And before I reveal it, try to catch it for yourself in this short.
This is a Starbucks, and down the street is another Starbucks. And today, I'ma start some beef.
Howdy, can you give me just like a really fun drink?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
Starbucks A went off. This is the most fun drink I've ever seen. I pulled up the Starbucks B and did what I had to do.
And then they said that you guys make super boring drinks.
Okay.
So I was just gonna see if you guys can make a more fun one than them.
Yeah, definitely.
This is what the Starbucks down the street made.
The genuine shock on Tori's face.
Right, so in the hook, Ryan sets up the plot behind the video, and now we want to see who will make the better Starbucks drink. Then you might have noticed He used a hidden storytelling tool in order to keep us engaged throughout the short. Let's see, even though the concept itself wasn't very intense, there was a lot of anticipation. He framed things in a way that made it impossible to scroll because of the building up towards the payoff. The hidden tool that Ryan used here was tension, and obviously it worked because this short has nearly 100 million views. So tension is the most important instrument of storytelling, and it can be applied in very broad circumstances, as long as you're building suspense in your viewers. Now that we've resolved the storytelling and the hook, let's move on to the payoff, another integral part of your content. So remember how I said earlier in the hook that you had to mention a payoff? Well, now that we're actually here, it's very important that you meet the expectations you set. Ryan set up that there would be a competition between the two Starbucks. But what if he reached the end of the short after all of that tension and build-up and said, well, it's a tie? That would be lame, wouldn't it? You want to satisfy your audience because the real trick to getting a shit ton of retention is returning viewers. If you disappoint someone with your payoff, then you'll have lost a potential loyal subscriber who would have given you a lot of engagement in the long run. So make sure to fulfill the payoff, and look at that, we've successfully completed the composing pathway. Remember what I said earlier about composing being the engine of your shorts? Well, you can think of editing as the physical part of the car. The wheel, the seats, and the walls. In the same way that a car couldn't function without an engine, it's just as useless without a body. To start, let's talk about your pacing. Attention spans are pretty much fried nowadays, especially when it comes to short form platforms like YouTube Shorts. Therefore, we need to go to great lengths to make sure our content is as fast-paced as possible. I remember on an old channel of mine in the gaming niche, I would spend a whole hour getting footage for a 1-minute short. That way I could condense all of the most action-packed moments to make the pacing quick and entertaining. This is so important because people nowadays value their time much more. Why would they spend 30 seconds watching your short that isn't even entertaining when they can just scroll away and watch Mr. Beast? So keep your shorts as fast-paced as possible. As for certain tricks like captions, transitions, and zooming, there isn't one concrete answer that I can give. It's heavily dependent on the style of your content, so I recommend you search for other creators in your niche and just do what they do. Now, there's a whole nother side of editing as well. This aspect of it is often overlooked, which is a shame because it plays one of the biggest roles in your engagement. See if you can find what it is in this short.
These are the internet's weirdest websites. SpotTheDrowningChild.com is like a lifeguard simulator where you're given a video of real people in a swimming pool and you click who you think's drowning to see if you're faster than the lifeguard. What'sMyStarbucksName.com lets you type in your name and will return with how a Starbucks employee will find a way to spell it wrong.
Did you catch it? As the sections of the video switched, the music he used changed as well. The soundtrack you pick for your shorts can be used to make the audience feel different moods during different parts of the short. This gets them more invested into the video and enhances your storytelling. But be careful, because if you pick the wrong soundtrack, then it can backfire heavily. Another huge use of music is for building tension. I talked about it earlier, so you already know how important tension is. If you pick a certain song with a build-up, then you can create tension from thin air and manipulate people into staying engaged. I can't show an example of this because of copyright, but this channel is super good at it, so check out his content to see what I'm talking about. Sound effects, again, depend on your niche and type of content. If you can use them, then add them to certain moments for more engagement, but if it doesn't fit your video style, then it's not a big deal. The definition of leverage is using something to its maximum advantage. If we go back to that car analogy, leverage would be like attaching a jet booster to the back. The car does work without it, but we can make it go a lot faster. And what I mean by this is there are some clever tricks to maximize retention outside of the traditional composing and editing. Some of these tricks will seem pretty weird, but don't underestimate how effective they are. The first one is called engagement baiting. Do something that urges people to comment. For example, an intentional mistake
until this guy slides the watermelon through it.
Or a really crazy moment. People will want to point it out, and you might not know this, but your retention increases as people use the comment section. Try it for yourself. Go to a short, and you'll notice that when you leave a comment, the short keeps playing in the background. So get people to leave comments, and you'll see a massive increase in your retention. Another trick related to comments, and this one is kind of underhanded, but it works very well. Here's how you do it. Once you post your short, switch YouTube accounts so that people don't know it's you. Then go to the post you just made and leave a comment saying something like, "That ending was crazy," or "I didn't expect the ending." Most people check the comments before even watching the short, so they'll see that and wait until the end because you've made them curious about what happens. The funny thing about this one is a lot of shorts creators use this without you knowing it. Next time you check the comments on a short and see one like that, just know it might actually be the creator in disguise. The third one is very simple, but it's also very effective. Go to one of your shorts and find the related video section. Click it and link one of your other shorts. A lot of people will click this link, and since they're already invested in your content, they're more likely to watch for longer. Now, I have a lot more leverage tips to share, so I've linked them in the description for completely free. Check those out if you're interested. Hopefully you got a lot of value from this video. Subscribe if you did, and I'll talk to you in the next one.